We're live. We're live, like it.
Yes, we
Back in
are.
action. Yeah. We just recorded a podcast yesterday, and as we wrapped, we're like, not sure when we're going to be back again. And wouldn't you know it, just like that, a bunch of stuff starts happening. I'm kind of doing the thing where I filibuster a little bit while other folks join us live, because we are live right now on the KSR YouTube channel and the KSR Facebook page. But like it, I think folks were starting to get impatient, and so this started happening quickly, and it happened at the right when it felt like things were getting too quiet. Stuff
Yeah,
started happening.
yeah. I was afraid we were going to get all this on Friday, but we're just a day early here. But yeah, some big developments today. Feels
Mm-hmm.
like I literally just wrote how important cornerback is a couple hours ago, and then they go and get a cornerback right away. Felt like also PR 101 here for Kentucky. Lose a star player,
Yeah,
get a cornerback in a position or get a commitment at a position of need right after that, and then get
yeah,
another one a couple hours later. But yeah, Northern Illinois left tackle transfer Marcus Cox and Cincinnati cornerback transfer JQ Hardaway are both in the fold here. Two positions of need right
mm-hmm.
there, and so Kentucky has addressed their roster in a big way today.
Yeah. And I think the most noteworthy takeaway you have from let's just go through the big news stories of the day, right? Within the last 24 hours, you've had rumors that Carrington Valentine was going to transfer to Louisville. Those were shot down. And then you had him go ahead and say, okay, actually, I am done at UK, but I'm declaring for the NFL draft. And then 3 hours later, you get a guy who's not from Cincinnati, but he's actually from one of the better football powerhouses in the state of Alabama, Phoenix City Central. Their team last year, they had a guy who was a freshman All-American that went to Georgia. What's the defensive end's name? I can't think of his name now.
Well, you're getting confused there. Michael Williams went to Columbus, Georgia High School.
Which is right next across the border.
And
Right.
JQ Hardaway went there his first, I believe, 2 years of high school ball, and then moved over to
Gotcha.
Phoenix City Central. But yes, Phoenix City, to my understanding, is pretty much Columbus, Georgia. Like they are
Mm-hmm. One
right
and the
next to
same.
each other on the map.
Right.
So yeah,
And
Phoenix City Central had Josh Jones went there. He's on Kentucky's roster, and then
mm-hmm.
Carmelo English
Yes.
goes there right now.
So would be a nice package deal. But Hardaway was a 4-star prospect in last year's recruiting class. Thought Kentucky might get him at the 11th hour, but instead he ends up going to Cincinnati. And look, he's a big guy, which Kentucky, they love length in their cornerbacks. And he played some quality reps as a true freshman for the Bearcats.
Yeah, he didn't have a redshirt this season. Played over 90 snaps on defense and plus special teams. So, I mean, he got his feet wet last year for a top 25 defense at Cincinnati. And this is fresh off where Cincinnati had, Sauce Gardner, Kobe Bryant. There was another guy in the secondary, all got drafted. And so they've had a good little track record there at Cincinnati. And JQ Hardaway was kind of next in line there. So he enters the portal after one season. The same day Luke Fickell gets hired at Wisconsin is when Hardaway jumped in to the portal. And Kentucky works fast, Nick. Got him on campus Saturday night. He put out a story of the typical hotel room of an official visit, right? You have all that team centric gear there on the bed. So he was there for a couple days over the weekend. Hardaway was going through an OV at Kentucky, and a few days later he announces his commitment. And so this thing moved fast.
I think so. There's two things we can learn from JQ Hardaway's actually the process he went through to get to this point right here, right? One, we found out about it through an Instagram story of just UK shirts on a hotel room bed, right? UK has been very quiet about how they've operated in the portal with visitors. You haven't really learned about in-home visits. They have been much quieter throughout not only the transfer portal process, but just overall recruiting in general. So that's something we can learn. And also, they got him on campus, and then they let the cake bake, let him go home for a couple days before getting everything together. Shout out to Shay for telling me to correct that we should be getting Hardaway and English from Phoenix City Central. But that's I think moving forward, that's kind of the right recipe, right? Is it's going to be kind of quiet. You aren't going to know about all of them. You might have a feeling, but you're going to have to wait it out a little bit. And that's something we can learn about Ray Davis, who is. I thought he was already on campus once, but I think he's going to come back to campus this weekend. So that might be a situation like it where he comes. You feel pretty good about it, but it takes a little while before we get a commitment. Same thing with quarterback Devin Leary, who was on campus, started his visit on Tuesday. Uh, we were able to report that. But, they might tell him go home, take a few days before ultimately pulling the trigger and announcing a decision.
Yeah, Ray Davis on commitment watch, I think, this weekend. Going with his OV. I believe his dad is tweeting at people right now about how excited they are for this visit.
Mm-hmm.
He's tweeted out all his offers. He's got a bunch of Power 5 offers.
Louisville recently. Coach Prime, I think, was one.
Mm-hmm. Kentucky's got a chance to log a recruiting win here. But this is something I learned today, Nick. The dead period starts on Monday.
Yeah.
December 19th.
I didn't realize that applied to portal players, too.
So, visits are done after Sunday. They can't host, I believe, players until January. So what that means is if you're a portal guy and you want to get there for the spring semester and you want to get enrolled, I wouldn't say it's necessarily slam dunk. You could probably squeeze one in, but you probably need to have your ducks in a row. You probably need to have these visits and you need to decide where you're going to go, like right now. Where you have to make your visits now and then go through your decision-making process. So if we go through here, Nick, and I don't hear anything about Devin Leary over the next day or so of visit-wise,
yeah,
I feel like Kentucky has their quarterback. But
right,
this is just kind of the spot we're in. And I think you're seeing it now with Hardaway and Cox and Davis are all trying to rush and get these visits done so they can get in here for spring ball and for the spring semester and get enrolled in classes.
Yeah, it's an exciting time right now at the University of Kentucky. Let's go back and talk about just the first decision real quickly before we kind of get any sort of predictions or teasers in for later. But Marcus Cox, is it Marquez?
I'm saying Marcus.
Okay.
I guess we'll find out when he's introduced.
We'll roll with Marcus, but really the big takeaway here is they swung and missed. I don't want to say a ton last year because there wasn't very many options, but they wanted a left tackle in the transfer portal. They didn't get one. That was the second player they got in the portal. The first area of need they addressed is getting 2 offensive linemen from the transfer portal. That's significant. That is significant. There's no other way around it. That's important. That's how you land a guy like Devin Leary. Is you say, all right, we're going to get some guys to keep you on your feet next year.
Yeah, you fix your problems through recruiting in college football, and that's what they're trying to do with the offensive line. I think Marcus Cox, number one, he's a true left tackle. No doubt about it. He's plug-and-play left tackle. He's coming off a season-ending injury against Kentucky. I can't find anything on this injury. No one really knows what the injury was. Northern Illinois didn't report on it at all, so that's my biggest question. Number one is, what's the state of that injury? Is he going to be able to play in the spring? And I do think he's interesting because, Nick, we know they tried to run outside zone, and it's just not worked, right? We think a lot of it is personnel. I think some of that is tied to their tackle situation. You turn on the tape, though, this is an outside zone tackle. Like, he can get up, he can move laterally, he can complete reach blocks. He's at his best on the move. Where he probably struggles a little bit is playing with power and creating movement, just the good old-fashioned man ball way.
The JQ Hardaway way.
Yes. Yeah. And so that is going to be interesting. But for PFF data this past year, Nick, he had 100 pass rush snaps, didn't give up one pressure.
Mm-hmm.
He's gotten better each year if you kind of look at PFF's data. And so I think there's a lot here to like about him. On tape, he comes across as a pretty heady, smart football player. And I think schematically he'll fit what Kentucky wants to do. So I think he solves a lot of problems. We still don't know for sure if Kenneth Horsey is coming back. That's the assumption. That allows Horsey to slide to left guard, and in an outside zone offense potentially, I kind of like that Horsey Cox combo there on the left side. And so I think there's a lot to like about him. My biggest, I guess, question or worry would be like, what's the state of that injury? What is the injury, and what's the
Yeah.
state of him? And can he play right away in the spring?
Is he
Because
going to be available? Yeah.
well, right. That group needs the bank reps, right? Like in the
Yeah.
spring, they need the bank reps, as many reps as possible.
They really struggled with that last fall. That was a big problem.
Right. And so, like, can he play right now? Like, can he participate in that football activities? I guess. Well, that's something we'll have to wait and find out.
Moving forward, I appreciate some of the questions that we're getting in on the KSR YouTube channel. And Tyler, she's got a great one for us, right? That's why she's the pros pro. That's why she's the editor in chief at KSR. Rank the remaining portal targets in likelihood of commitment. And look at, I think the first one, I'd put Ray Davis at 1.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Leary at 2.
That's what I would have, and then I would probably say
Jansen Dunn at 3.
Jansen Dunn.
Yeah. After that, it's kind of a toss-up, especially from like a lot of the players we've been hearing. Like we haven't, there was word that there might be a guy out there from the SEC on the offensive line. There's also Savion Washington from Kent State, but we don't know if he's going to be able to make it in town or not. So there is some uncertainty out there as they try to find another offensive lineman. But if you are just going to rank the top 3, like those are a pretty good 3, and they address some areas of need, particularly your quarterback position, which somebody else brought up in the chat, the report from The Athletic, that a lot of the dominoes, they feel like Devin Leary is the first one. And once Leary goes, then you'll start seeing a lot of guys go elsewhere, kind of sort of in a pecking order of sorts.
Yeah, I think with Leary, I think Notre Dame was a school. Notre Dame's one of the big schools in the market that needs a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hudson Card has been kind of linked there. Another thing, though, Nick, is there's schools that may need a portal quarterback that are just waiting on decisions. BYU, South Carolina, Oregon, all their quarterbacks are kind of borderline draft guys, and they're waiting to see what those guys do. So they're kind of in a bind.
Yeah.
And so they're just waiting to see, and I think that could pay dividends for Kentucky because they can go ahead and make a move now. Again, we've only heard about Leary visiting Kentucky. Seems like Kentucky put on the full court press this week.
Right.
It's gone quiet on Leary. We haven't really heard anything else regarding him. I don't see
anybody
else visiting, and I think that's a very good sign. I believe Pete Thamel, Nick, broke. He was going into the portal.
Mm-hmm.
That could be. We could get the big ESPN.
ESPN bump, like
for this.
The Pierce Clarkson commitment with the billboard.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what I was alluding to. That could happen here. So I think I would be surprised if it happens this weekend. I mean, I just keep an eye on it. But again, like this will have to happen fast. For Kentucky, I think they would love to have this kind of bump heading into signing day, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, here's what you need to do, listeners out there. You've subscribed to this. Go ahead and subscribe to our newsletter too. We don't have the KSR app anymore that does the mommy squammy or whatever Ryan Lemon said. We lost that capability, but we can send you emails as soon as news breaks so that you know when it's happening as it's happening. A lot of times we'll hop right on here for a little rapid reaction on the KSR YouTube channel. We're not far away from our computers. It's a 6-day sprint till the early signing period starts December 21st. And as Luckett said, the dominoes have started falling, and we might get a lot more before we get to signing day. So it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. And who knows when we'll be back again? Maybe it's a little Friday news dump. I wouldn't be mad about it. I wouldn't be mad about it at all.
We could be meeting again on here. No doubt about it.
So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back before you know it. Best of luck.